This video is a demonstration of a foundational activation program that supports the physical demands of competitive swimming. It is filmed in real time, so it can be used as a practical guide and coaching resource. The recommended exercise prescription is 20 reps for movement-based exercises and 1 minute for static or holding exercises. The first exercise in the activation sequence is the open-close shutters. This exercise is designed to facilitate proper shoulder complex movement in the horizontal range of motion. The athlete is encouraged to keep the arms level to the shoulders as they move from back to front. Trying to keep the elbows as close as possible is important as the athletes move the arms up past the face. The total rep count for this exercise is 20 reps. To encourage proper vertical range of motion in the shoulder complex, fly shutters is the next exercise. The movement is an exaggerated fly movement beginning with squeezing and pulling the shoulder blades down and together. Then the athlete is encouraged to exaggerate a rounded butterfly entry to move the shoulder blades up along its range of motion. Scapular arm reaches is the next exercise. In this exercise, the athletes are introduced to the correct unilateral or one-sided shoulder movement. As demonstrated, the movement is predominantly coming from the shoulder blade and not the arm. The opposite shoulder blade is engaged by having the athlete touch the moving shoulder blade at the start position. The rep count for this exercise is 20 per arm. The towel stretch is the first assisted flexibility movement of the sequence. Holding the towel at a comfortable width, the athlete travels through the full range of motion from front to back with no resistance. The movement should be smooth with no hitching, discomfort, or unnecessary head movement. Keeping the hands in a wider, more comfortable position is ideal. Towel rotations is the next assisted flexibility exercise. This exercise is designed to teach athletes proper active rotation of the thorax around the fixed pelvis. Athletes hold the towel at a comfortable width and push the shoulders and hands towards the ceiling. Rotation is achieved by actively engaging the torso muscles and not through momentum. The arms should stay in line with the torso and not go past the face. Moving into the lower body, the sumo squat is the next exercise. It is designed to facilitate hip and spine mobility. Ideally, the feet should be turned out slightly and sit at hip width. The pelvis should be tucked under the torso. Arms are inside the knees and hands in prayer position, actively pressing against each other to assist in a gentle push on the inside knee. The chest should be open and back straight. As a static hold, this exercise is held for 1 minute. As the activation sequence progresses, the exercises begin to involve the entire body and mimic key swim positions. This exercise is the standing streamline. The key movement to learn is the posterior tilt of the pelvis. As demonstrated, posterior tilt is the decrease of the curve in the lower back by tucking the hips under the torso. The core or abdominal muscles assist by tightening and pulling the belly button inwards. Once the pelvis is tucked, the rest of the streamline can be added. The athlete squeezes their ears with their arms, and the hands are pointed to the ceiling. The legs and feet are squeezed together. The entire movement should be active with no slackness in the body. Without gravity, the athlete can work at lengthening the streamline position by being supine or on their backs. Again, the posterior pelvic tilt is the keystone to the movement. As demonstrated, this movement is achieved by decreasing the space between the ground and the lower back. Once the pelvic tilt is achieved, the rest of the streamline can be integrated. The back of the hands should stay flat on the ground, ears should be squeezed by the arms, and the lower body is tight and pointed. To reinforce proper core strength and its role in posterior pelvic tilt, kneeling core activation is the next exercise. The athlete places their hands on their hips The core is engaged by posteriorly tilting the pelvis and sucking in the belly button. Then the athlete leans back from their knees and not their hips. The tucked hip position and resulting body line should remain for the duration of the exercise. With proper shoulder movement addressed in the beginning of the sequence, proper shoulder complex engagement is taught through the plank. As you can see here, the posterior pelvic tilt body line and position is reinforced. By creating a stable core, the shoulder complex has a fixed point to anchor onto. The shoulder blades are engaged properly by pushing the elbows against the ground as if trying to move the chest away from the ground. Starting with a proper plank, plank hand touches teaches the athlete proper unilateral or one-sided shoulder engagement as well as hip stability. The arm reaches out and moves towards the ground in a position that mimics stroke mechanics at entry. The hand is pointed, the elbow is high, and the armpit is open. The hips should have minimal side-to-side movement. Lastly, the scapular push-up is designed to connect the engagement and disengagement of the shoulder complex needed for proper swim mechanics. Starting with a proper plank, the athlete disengages the shoulder complex and lowers their body towards the ground, and then back up. Notice that the posterior pelvic tilt and resulting body line does not change with the movement. The next part of the activation video highlights coaching tips for some of the exercises. Each sample clip has an athlete demonstrating proper technique and one that is showing common errors. The pace for the open shutters should be slow and controlled. As you can see with the athlete on the left, he is rushed and his hands actually are not in a good position as he's trying to focus on a too fast movement. In this video, the improper athlete is showing excessive thoracic movement to accommodate for the movement of the shoulders. Closeness or approximation of the elbows in this exercise is extremely important. With the fly shutters, the movement should be an exaggerated and rounded fly entry. As you can see with the athlete on the left, he is extremely narrow. Similar to the open shutters, excessive thoracic movement or torso movement is not correct. The one arm reach is designed for scapular and shoulder complex movement. As you can see with the athlete on the left, most of the movement is coming from his arm and very little is coming from his shoulder complex. In this clip, the athlete on the left is using excessive torso movement to gain movement in the shoulder. To keep the towel rotation safe, a slow controlled movement is correct. In this case, you can see the athlete on the left is rushing and excessively moving his head to gain that movement. Torso rotations is designed to train the athlete to use their torso actively for rotation. As you can see in this comparison, the athlete on the left is using momentum and trying to swing his arms as opposed to move his torso actively. Proper form for towel rotations requires the arms and shoulders to be pushed towards the ceilings and actively engaged. As you can see in this clip, the athlete on the left has the shoulders disengaged. Kneeling core activation requires the athlete to posteriorly tilt the pelvis and lean back from the knees. The athlete on the left is leaning from the hips and their pelvis is not tilted posteriorly as indicated by the body line. During the plank, an athlete is required to maintain the body line of a posterior tilted pelvis, shoulders engaged, and have the feet off the ground. As you can see with the athlete on the left, he is not doing any of these points. In this example, you can see a properly engaged shoulder complex on the right and a disengaged shoulder complex on the left. The arm movement in plank hand touches is designed to mimic the entry and hand position of swimming mechanics. As you see on the athlete on the left, his elbow is dropped, his armpit is closed, and his shoulder is disengaged. Limiting hip movement or hip rotation is another key component of plank hand touches. As you can see here, the athlete on the left is rocking left and right with every movement of the arms. You can also see with every movement of the arms that his shoulder blade disengages and actually pops up. Scapular push-ups requires the body line to remain the same when the shoulders engage and disengage. On the left, you can see the athlete dropping his pelvis every time he disengages his shoulder blades and lowers his body. Another component of the scapular push-up is controlled movement. As you can see here with the athlete on the right, her movement is the same going up and down. On the left, the athlete is dropping quicker than he is pushing up.